What's going on, everybody? This is Qbear back again with FluidDruid.net to bring you the Alysrazor encounter in 25 normal firelands. Just like PTR, again, this was the only boss on the PTR that my guild got to test. So she starts off with her AoE Fire Blast and then claws through the middle of the raid. You can pop your Sprint and Berserk here and get pretty good initial damage on the boss before she flies up and becomes unattackable from melee. We used 5 range, who grabs 3 stacks of the feather buff to fly in the air and DPS her. Melee make great candidates for that, however our range were comfortable since I did it on the PTR. Most of that group consisted of the PTR group that was flying over there. So we split our melee group into 2 groups. The ads did change quite a bit. They cast Fire Blast, which needs to be interrupted. So just make sure that you have melee designated to that. As well as they don't spawn 4 at a time, 2 sets of 4 with 8 total. They actually just spawn 2 at a time. There's still 8 total. However, there's only going to be 2 present at any given point in time, which is why we split our melee group into 2 groups. The tanking, the hatchling still works the same way. They get the damage increase. They gotta watch out for tantrums. Drag them over to the lava spewing worms. However, I don't know if it's just a 25-man thing, but definitely the tank is not capable of killing the hatchling by his own damage buff. So you need to make sure that as you get periods of downtime in between waiting for your next ad to spawn, if you're killing these things with the speed we are, that you're getting on the hatchling, because you really can't have that thing up when transition starts. So you'll see here that after this ad spawns, the other ad isn't coming. This is of course the 3rd one. So I get him down real quick, and then I'm gonna just try to get some bleeds and stuff up on the hatchling that's on my side. Once the hatchling does spawn, or I'm sorry, once the initiate does spawn, you need to make sure you're back over there. Make sure you're getting interrupts. Basically, if the Fire Blast is allowed to go off, you'll gain a stacking haste buff, which is just gonna increase the rate at which you cast more Fire Blasts. So really important that you have those under control. So once I've killed my 4th ad, the other group's killing their 4th ad, which is a total of the 8 initiates. Both melee groups shift to their hatchling on their respective sides. They do DPS. You'll see me come off here to grab 2 stacks of the feather bus. Basically what happens there is that will grant you a 30% movement speed per stack. It's really important to get your 60 stack, just because it makes dodging the tornadoes in transition a lot easier. Be careful that you only grab 2 stacks, not 3. 3 is what will grant you the flight buff, and you don't really need to be flying around. You get grounded in transition anyway. So they did add more tornadoes, but the concept is still the same. Try to find a spot and just strafe back and forth. If you do find yourself running with the tornado, do what you can to get to the side as safely as possible and let that one pass so that you can have some breathing room. Strafing is always better than going with it. And then here is the burn phase. You get on the boss, pop plus, all your cooldowns and stuff. The only thing you need to be aware of here is these ads that channel the boss. What they're doing is trying to raise her energy bar back to 50 when she'll spawn. Still be attackable, but she'll need a taunt from a tank. And so you just make sure that that channel gets interrupted. We had 2 rogues doing it. They could keep them stun lock kicked the entire time. Everything works. When she comes up, be aware of where your tank is that's picking up this boss. She cleaves in front of her. So if you're standing on top of that tank, or if the tank is standing on top of your raid, then that's going to be unhealable damage. As you can see, everybody's getting beat up pretty good. So every time she comes up, this is the only point in the fight you'll need raid cooldowns. So make sure you're coordinating them. People inside this bubbles, tranks, all that kind of stuff. You know what the raid cooldowns are. Again, really interesting fight mechanics here. They've done, so far, I believe, a really good job in Firelands. You know, that's everybody's personal opinion. One thing that I want to note, because I mean I'm sure everybody watches these videos and is like, oh, that could work, but you know, I like the way my guild does it. You know, these are of course always just from my perspective. I think a lot of people lose track of that, like this is the end all guide. Basically I read the raid strategy sections of FluidDruid and I take what you people suggest and try to add them into my videos. I know Mangle from the Alysrazor section of the raid strategy forums for FluidDruid was kind enough to post a YouTube video of his own where he actually flies. He's part of the group that goes into the air, and so you can see how he handles, you know, having to go through the rings and stuff up there. So big props to him for doing that for everybody. It's definitely not the easiest thing trying to make videos and stuff for YouTube, but you know, anybody that wants to throw their point of views out on that, I mean, definitely the forums are there to link different strats as long as you're talking, being constructive, all that kind of stuff. Melee make great candidates to go up there. I'm just going to talk about this for a little bit because as you see, this fight literally repeats itself. So everything I talked about is, you know, just what's happening here. But lost track. Melee make great candidates to go up in the air. As long as you're, you know, able to pan, strafe, all that kind of stuff, you can do damage. You get resources back, so you know, mana users get mana back, rage gets rage back, energy. So I mean, you're just really sitting there doing pretty crazy damage, not near the damage of the tanks. A tank will beat all your DPS on this fight. So just, you know, that sucks, but you gotta do what you do. Tanks deserve a little love too, right? But also, yeah, just, you know, make sure you're watching these for what they are. Just, you know, helpful feral tips and tricks. As I pretty much end all the videos, plug in Learn to Raid nowadays, just know that if you're really looking for, hey, a video I can get a hold, toss to my raid group, you know, how do we kill this boss for a bunch of dudes that have no idea what these mechanics are, learntoraid.com is the leader for that kind of stuff. So just, you know that. Definitely these are for maximizing feral. Basically, as you can see, if you're part of the ground phase for DPS, all you're really doing is making sure you're doing good single target on the initiates that take priority, and then in between down periods with no initiates, you're on these hatchlings. Now you can see it better here. There used to be safe zones on the PTR. Blizzard actually removed those by adding a buff, or a debuff rather, 60 yards out. You can tell by that white circle you see on the left there. That's the 60-yard marker. There used to be safe zones, you know, where you could stand, avoid all that stuff. However, now if you pass that white invisible wall, you will gain a fire ticking debuff, which is going to kill you. It's really unhealable damage if you try to stay out there the entire time. So you gotta strafe, you gotta work with the tornadoes, and just learn that. Again, so important that you're locking out these channelers during transition phases. But once you master that, again, this fight really repeats the same phase over and over again until you down her. I'm not sure if there's an enrage, I hope there isn't. But yeah, this is the fight. So again, if you have any questions about the raid strategy concept of things, be checking out learntoraid.com. A beautiful website for raid strat videos. If you're just trying to maximize your feral DPS, be looking over FluidDruid.net, FluidDruid.net/forums, all that kind of stuff. I'm Qbear, and I'll catch you in the next boss skill.